So, today we're going to finally review Dark Eyes. We've talked a lot about this box set on this channel ever since we started it, and we've always promised that someday in the future we'll get to review Dark Eyes. So, today's the day, and this is just going to be a quick little discussion about the audio box set, basically. So first, let's talk about all the stories that are in this box. Of course, story number 1 is The Great War. Second story, making sure they're in the right order, is Fugitives. And Tangled Web will be the third story, and the final story in the box set is X and the Daleks. And also, there is a bonus disc. Some behind the scenes. So, let's talk for hours about Dark Eyes because there is Dark Eyes 1, 2, 3, and 4. But, you know, we'll get to those other ones a little bit down the road. Yes, we'll get to them in the future. Today we're just solely focusing on the first box set. Because this box set was one of the very first box sets I ever purchased when I got into Big Finish. I think this was happening around 2015 if I remember. And I only bought, like, the single issues, you know, like the single issue 8th Doctor Adventures and the 4th Doctor Adventures. I didn't really kind of expand it beyond that. Just because, you know, when you're getting into Big Finish, you don't really want to, you know, I don't know, it cost a lot, basically, back then. It still does. The first box that I did buy at Gallifrey 1 that year, and I basically heard a whole bunch of reviews about it, people saying this was the best box set, great launching off point for any new listeners to Big Finish. So I was very intrigued by it, and I really, you know, I was trying to get into the 8th Doctor audios right around, of course, 2013 with The Night of the Doctor. That got me a lot more invested into get 8th Doctor audios. So I decided at Gallifrey to take the plunge, spend the money, and get Dark Eyes, and I do not regret that I did that choice. Because I almost regretted it at the time, because it was, I think, $45, which at the time, of course, I didn't really understand how much Big Finish cost. Now it's like, man, $45, that's nothing sometimes. But yeah. So, what I really like about the story box set is the mystery. And it leads into the other box sets, is with Molly O'Sullivan, she has very dark eyes. And it basically, when you first listen to it, you're like, you're very fascinated to understand what these dark eyes is going to be about. Of course, it takes a little bit, of course, to understand it. Once you get to, that's the whole mystery of the box set, basically. The whole box set range, all 4 of them. So you get little kind of hints here and there. But it's a very fascinating, like, mystery. It got me really intrigued to keep listening to this, to see where the story goes. And that's a big bonus. If a story can get you wanting to listen to more of it, I really think you know you're on a good box set here. I also liked how, when I first listened to it, I only planned to listen to, like, 1 a day. I think I almost listened to the whole thing in 1 day. Because it was so... It really kept my focus and really got me invested in what's going on, and I wanted to keep following and going on, and I couldn't stop. Now, the problem was, by that point, I didn't have Dark Eyes 2 to 4. I don't even think 4 was out yet, and I'm like, I'm going to have to get the rest of them. And I did. Because it makes you like, wow, I did not know that this is how good audios can get sometimes. And I think another big pro of it is it's written by Nicholas Briggs. And it's also directed and written, you know, he also directed it. So he directed it, and I think that helps with consistency. When you have a story box set that's, you know, between like 4 different story authors, or just 3, you have their own tone. Sometimes that does work, like the Classic Doctor's New Monster Range, and The Lives of Captain Jack, and, you know, the Torchwood, Aliens Among Us. That works in there, but sometimes, for a launching off box set, it really does help to have one author who can set up everything for the first stories, and then later on, pass it on to the other writers. And I think without that, it wouldn't have been that good. I don't think Dark Eyes would be that memorable. Because it makes you have the consistency threads. So the same mystery, kind of good cliffhangers, good lead-ins to each of the stories, and it really helps that. And for a first-time, you know, listener, this is why I think that box set would be a very good purchase. Another big little pro on here is Paul McGann. He is amazing in this box set. Every single story, he gives it his A game, and you really see how much the 8th Doctor has improved, in a way, from, the TV movie, you can see how much the Eighth Doctor has grown as a character thanks to the Big Finish audios. And this is just a culmination of it. Now, there's a little bit of things. There is audios before this, of course, in the Eighth Doctor Adventures. So the biggest question I've seen from a few that I actually asked was, is there any continuity? Is there anything I have to be worried about going into this? Not really. You don't have to listen to all the Eighth Doctor Adventures. You can if you want, because they're also very good. But you don't have to listen to them yet. You can get this first if you want to, and then go back to there. There is, some, one little thing that happened to the Eighth Doctor in those audios that makes him what he is like in the Great War. Because in the Great War, he's looking for hope after what happened in that audio, those audios, basically. So, if you want to listen to Lucy Miller and To the Death, it might, give you some backstory to them. And I will definitely try to review Lucy Miller and To the Death sometime in the future again, because those were amazing stories as well. Now, I think the biggest thing was starting this box set off in the World War I setting, I thought was very intriguing. Now, I do wish, because I don't really think they could have done it, the Daleks. I almost wish the Daleks were not mentioned that they were in this story. The reason that is, it's a pretty non-Dalek story through the whole thing. And then right at the end, you're like, oh, there's the Daleks, because they're right on the cover. And I really think it would have added a little bit more if you just didn't know they were in this story, because that cliffhanger, the ending, could have been amazing. But that's just a minor thing, because, if you know something, this whole box set features pretty much the Daleks. So overall, this is an amazing box set, and if you really want to get into Big Finish, this is a great launching off point. To conclude this review, is this audio recommended? Well, let's just pass it over to Steven. Let's see what he says.
Listen to it. Listen to it now. You will not be disappointed.
And I do agree with him with that statement. I do think if I will say that there is any weak stories, for me it was Tangled Web. I really don't know why, but I didn't really enjoy the story very much when I first listened to it. But it still gets me very interested, because the Time Lords, they were the ones who got him into this mission, so it definitely makes you start questioning a few things. So definitely buy this release if you haven't. I want to end this review by talking about a little question that was asked on one of our Big Finish reviews that we did, I think, a couple months ago, and I've always wanted to do a little video for it, but I never had the time to do it, so I thought, let's do it at the end of this Dark Eyes mini review. So they asked was, what do you prefer, CD or digital Big Finish? Because you can get digital downloads from Big Finish, or you can get the physical. Now, for me, it doesn't really matter to me. I like to have digital for some of them when I just want the story, and the digital is a little cheaper than the physical release, so I'll do the digital. But sometimes, box sets, I do like to have the physical product, because the box sets, if you do the MP3 and all those formats, it's a big file. It's a very large, I think around, at most I've seen 700 to the biggest one I've seen was 1 gigabyte. So 700 megabytes to 1 gigabyte. So that does take up a lot of room sometimes on your device. And with this one, then you can kind of have the CDs. But it's only down to personal preference, in my opinion. When it comes down to CDs or digital, I really will tell you, it's down to personal preference. If you just want to listen to Big Finish and you don't really want to collect it and have it on your shelf, go digital, because then you can listen to a bunch of stories and you're not going to pay as much. And it'll get you exposed to a bunch of Big Finish's releases. And another tip I'm going to give you guys for people who've never, let's say, listened to Big Finish, is the number 1 through 50 audios. Those are $2.99 each. So for the very first 50 audios, they're only $3 basically. And that's a great starting off point, because you get adventures with the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Doctor. So definitely would recommend that if you've never listened to Big Finish. So, if you really want to get into Big Finish, go to those first, and then go with the box sets, because these are a little bit more expensive than, $3. So, that's it for tonight. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did listen to Dark Eyes, tell me your guys' thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for our 2-year anniversary video. Bye, everyone.